been warned for months that we'll eventually have to learn to live with COVID, and now that time has arrived, with Sydney back open and the ACT and Melbourne soon to follow. Norman Swan is the presenter of the RN Health Report. He joins us now from Sydney. Norman, good morning.
Hi Lisa, welcome back.
Thank you very much. So there's a few people asking whether we're all going to actually end up with COVID at some point, and what are the implications of that, especially if you've been vaccinated?
Well, yes, eventually we all will be infected even if we are vaccinated, because the vaccination doesn't provide complete cover. It's going to take a long time before that to happen. The immediate issue is that anybody who's unvaccinated will become infected sooner or later, maybe sooner, and that's an issue that people need to really consider, particularly in states like WA, South Australia, Tasmania, Queensland, where you're eventually going to open up and be exposed to the virus. So you've really got to have a sense of panic in your head, like we have in New South Wales and Victoria, that that you've got to get vaccinated, and vaccinated as quickly as possible. So it's the unvaccinated people that you've got to think about. And so first of all, if you are immunised, you get vaccinated, you get a very mild disease. If you are vaccinated and you get the infection, it's like a booster dose, so you actually get extra immunity, and it tickles up your immune system or retrains it in a sense. So that's one advantage, but it's not something you want to expose yourself to. You're much better eventually getting a third dose of the vaccine.
Hey, just finally, there's a study showing the risks of heart complications from the virus if you get it. What can you tell us about it?
That just puts this into perspective, and I was thinking of a study of about 3.5 million people compared to 3.5 million controls, so 3.5 million people who got infected with COVID-19 versus people who didn't, and it was just skyrocketing risk of heart attack, stroke, inflammation of the arteries once you'd had COVID-19 compared to the background. So when you compare it to the very small risk of myocarditis, and I suspect even small with Moderna, the risk of COVID-19 is much higher. I mean, admittedly, the older you are, the higher the risk, but it exists in younger people too, and it is part of that long COVID. And by the way, the NHS in Britain is now overwhelmed by people with long COVID turning up at the National Health Service for care. So hopefully we're dodging a bullet with long COVID in Australia.